Good morning. It's Sunday at 11 in Singapore. Happy Sunday to you. Hope you have had a great week. Today, I selected the title before I had any idea what I would talk about. In fact, I'm still not really sure what will actually come out. So, obstacles or opportunities. We all have challenges, and it's what we do about them that makes the difference. Would you agree? That's really the key. So, the first thing I'm going to do is to use some oils. And the oils that I've gathered today, I've gathered 6 of them, which were on the Facebook. So, first thing I'm going to do, because obstacles and challenges and making them into opportunities requires courage. So Valor, and this is Valor II. This is actually the first bottle of Valor II that I have ever opened. It's kind of a great thing. I had my own stash of Valor, which sustained me through the time that we didn't have it. So happy to see a couple of you here already. I know it's not exactly the best time for everyone. It just works out that this is a kind of decent time for me. So that's what we're doing. So I'm going to apply the Valor II, or Valor, on me. So apply it to your hands, and whatever oils you've gathered to use, be sure to use them and breathe them in along with me. So, wow, we've got people from the U.S. and we've got people from all over Asia. It's really, thank you, Susan, for saying it's perfect timing. I'm getting a little better with positioning the phone so that I can read a few of the messages that you send in, the comments. However, right before, I was pressing to start this and my phone fell off the little stand, so I probably should really readjust. Sorry. That may not have been the best choice of things to do. Maybe that was one of those times. Let's see if I can get it back up here and hopefully have it stay. Okay, I'm not going to deal with that anymore. I'm not going to move it, even if I'm not in a good place on the picture. I'm sorry, okay? So, at any rate, I think I need some more Valor. Anybody else choose to use Valor today? Okay. And the next oil that I chose to use today was inspiration. Now, how many of you have used inspiration? It has always been one of my favorites, and it was out of stock for quite a while. So I'm thrilled to see it back. And I'm going to use it because I want to be inspired as I'm looking at the potential obstacles, the challenges that are crossing my path, to see if I can creatively come up with an opportunity to turn them into a positive thing. So, and the next oil that I'm going to use is inner child. I'm going to inspire myself and then use inner child. When was the last time that you played? Well, I'm learning to play a lot, so I could say, oh, I played just a few minutes ago. I've been coloring a lot this week, playing with the Rainbow Healing coloring book, and I never have been one to color. So, at any rate, inner child will assist us in looking at things from a child's perspective, perhaps a little more playfully, less seriously than we normally might do. Many of you know, I've talked about this before, that I was born responsible. You know, one of those, yes. Unfortunately, as I became older, my children would definitely tell you, I have become less and less responsible. So I'm thoroughly enjoying my 70s and now being totally irresponsible, playing and loving to live and look through the eyes of a child when I see a situation. Children rarely stay in the same state for a really long time. Would you agree? They're always changing. So now that I've got myself into thinking more like a child and being a little bit more playful, it might be time to envision, to be able to increase our vision, our powers of looking for different options when we're faced with challenges. I love Envision. That's really one of the oils that one of the blends that I use more frequently than most. And then I'm going to use highest potential, because whatever I choose to do, I intend that I will reach my highest potential. And I'm going to remind everyone that what your highest potential is one day does not determine your highest potential another, because everything is always changing. Would you agree? So let's think about some of the stuff that has gone on in the past few weeks. Now, for everyone, this is going to be different, but I'd like for you to just take a moment, close your eyes, and think about some of the things that have gone on that may have been challenging for you. Have you had a really easy time? If so, you might choose to stop watching this. But if you've had, like most of us, some ups and downs in these last few weeks, there's a lot of really strange energy out there. Have you noticed that? And for no apparent reason, things just don't seem to fit together. Everything can be planned perfectly, but for some reason, it just seems to not quite fit together. Are any of you experiencing that? Okay, well, Gary used to talk about so many times, I loved this, excuse-itis. He said, excuse-itis is the most crippling disease that there is. We all can make excuses when things don't go right. We can say, oh, well, you know, it would have been nice, but it just didn't happen, okay? The reality is that it doesn't matter what might have been, only what is. So, do you choose to focus on positive outcomes, or do you prefer to avoid potentially negative ones? Be honest. Really, really close your eyes. You don't have to look at any of us. I have to look at the camera, but you don't have to look at any of us. And just think about it. When something comes up that doesn't work quite the way you planned it or anticipated, what do you do? Do you think about how it might be an opportunity rather than an obstacle? I'll tell you something that all of you know about my trampoline experience, my adventure 6 years ago. That was a devastating injury when I fractured my spine in 2 places on the trampoline, having such a good time. It really could potentially have changed my life, as 7 doctors said that I would never walk again, that it was highly unlikely that I would ever walk again. much less without pain. So turning that around, that would have been a very negative outcome. But looking back on it, it was one of the greatest opportunities I have ever had the joy of having, because I got to spend personal time, a lot of it, with Gary Young, and I got to know him on a totally different level. Wow, how often could that happen? How could I have designed something so that that would happen? It made a connection that has always been there ever since. So what could have been devastating, really and truly, was the most wonderful thing that could have happened. It truly, truly changed my life. And 3 months later, I flew to the U.S. with no pain, and a month after that, Young Living Singapore was open, and it's all history after that. Asia has just blossomed. So obviously it didn't hold me back. So looking at things from a different perspective really, really does change things. Would you agree? So what are you going to look at differently that's been going on? No one knows all the things that have been potential challenges, the obstacles that you may have been facing in these last few weeks. You know them. Now, how are you going to deal with them? Are you going to be inspired to handle them differently? Are you going to envision a positive outcome? Have you ever noticed how, this was Envision. Have you ever noticed how when we expect positive things to happen, they usually do? And when we expect negative things to happen, we draw that energy in over and over. Is that the energy you choose to live in? So I choose not to avoid, not to even think about the negative outcomes, but rather to really think about how I can make something positive come out of that particular moment. After all, each moment is the only one that we have. This morning when I drew my rainbow healing cards, I just had to sit back and laugh, because the first card that I drew was the harmony card. Harmony is all about longevity of health and relationships. I love harmony in my life, and I really like for everything to be smooth. And then the next card that I drew was the Crusader card. And the Crusader is the passionate leader. And I thought about why I would get those two cards together. And the two cards seem to go together because it is very important for there to be harmony when someone is a leader or a part of a group. It is not about backing down, but rather about understanding how we can all work together to support one another. So much easier than all of us trying to do everything ourselves. Would you agree? So then my next card was the sacred space, which is that creating that safe place. Wow. That's where harmony exists inside, and all the chaos of the outside world is outside. It's kind of interesting that I got both of those cards together, isn't it? So what it is about creating that space for ourselves where things can be in harmony, even though there is a lot of chaos outside. Am I making any sense whatever? So, take a deep breath in, and I want you to think about what you might have done differently. Don't judge. It isn't necessary to judge. That's not what we're here for. But think about how some situation that was challenging for you might be turned into and still turned into a positive outcome. Okay? I found that for me, I had to rush back to Singapore because we changed our schedule. We will be recording videos, business videos this week for Young Living, or for Fuller Life, from my Young Living team, and they will be on the website. And it's very stressful for me, and to have to do it sooner was a little bit scary. But, I'm here, and everything's working out. All the schedules work together because we all intended that it could be. So I see Stephen is asking, how about a believe shower? Yes, that's the last oil that I have here. Because we need to believe that those outcomes, those positive outcomes, really can occur. So if you don't have your believe, whatever oil you have right near you, sprinkle it over your head and sprinkle it in your hands. Put it over your heart, brush it over your energy field, and intend to believe in those positive outcomes. So what's it going to be for you? Obstacles or opportunities? Remember, only you get to decide that. So this week, I challenge you to write down every night. Just take a few minutes before you go to bed and write down some of the challenging things that may have gone on, or the challenging situations that seem to be coming into your life right now. And take a few moments, use some oils. Think about how these particular situations just might be what's necessary to let go of something that it's ready to leave, something to release, so that you can bring in a totally different level of existence. So we never know. That trampoline really was scary. It was really scary to ride off in that ambulance and not know whether I would ever walk again. However, it was so wonderful to really get to spend all that time with Gary Young. So remembering that we have the power within each one of us to change the outcome from a negative one into a positive one, simply by our perception. So I challenge you this week to find some new and innovative ways to look at some of the challenges, the obstacles that have been placed in your path. And I look forward to talking with you again next week. Thank you for being here, and have a wonderful week filled with beautiful colors and rainbows.